All right, how's it going, guys? So we had a live stream the other day, finally. Now that all of the holiday shenanigans are out of the way. By the way, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, blah, blah. Let's get on with it. And we got this set up, which took a little bit. I'll, as always, leave a link to the stream up in the corner. And we kind of redid things just a little bit from how we had it before, but we have everything working, and I'll try to explain this contraption as best I can. But it's probably better that you check out the stream if you actually want to try to build this, or go back and look at the Take Two version, which was honestly a little bit cleaner in parts. And I may be moving this at some point in time because I'm not the happiest with how it ended up. But that's part of my thing of not planning anything and just doing it. I don't do well with planning, so I tend to not do it. But there is one caveat to this, and that is that I can't automate the MV electrolyzer at this point completely because it will pull 256 EU, and with our current setup here, we can't create 256 EU. We can only create roughly 140, I think it is, something like that. You can do the math, figure out exactly, but it's not enough. If we were running at 128, we would be able to. And there is a way that we could make it run that way, but I'm not going to bother doing that because at some point we will upgrade this to an HV setup and be able to do it. This is perfectly suitable for semi-automated MV electrolyzer and perfectly suitable for a LV setup for these three basic things. So I'll go over what we have here. Basically, if you've seen our setup for the MV electrolyzer, that is exactly what we're using. All I did was pull the dynamo and electrolyzer from up here and turned everything going this direction, put in a battery box. Battery box has alkaline batteries. We've already gone over how those are made, and you can find them in NEI right here. Because they are MV, they require tier 2 circuits, and the empty is made as such. The only thing you really have to be able to make these that you didn't have to have before this was the potassium hydroxide, which you might have already had depending on how you did other things. So this is the top of the line battery that can be made with the technology that we currently have. There are nickel cadmium batteries right here, which take curved cadmium plate, which we have, curved stainless steel plate, which we have, potassium hydroxide, again. Most of these components are identical. Plastic ring, curved battery alloy plate, aluminum foil, a curved nickel plate versus the zinc dust, steel wire, but it also requires a graphite rod. And graphite rods have to be extruded at 512. HU. And 512 is only possible in a titanium extruder or higher. Cannot be done in our current setup. I will be making one of those eventually, but I will probably not make the nickel cadmium batteries at that point. I will probably jump to the lithium cobalt, or more likely lithium manganese, which is the top tier battery. But one thing that I like to stress a lot of times is that you don't always have to use the, and I'm using finger quotes here, best. You can use what is best for you at the time. And at our current time, these alkaline batteries are the best we can make. And they are perfectly suitable for the situation that we have here. We don't need lithium manganese batteries. We don't need nickel cobalt or nickel cadmium batteries. To be exact, we probably could have gotten away with the lead acid batteries if it wasn't for running the MV electrolyzer, because we really need a little bit more storage when running this. But if you watch the stream, you will see that I ran a load of tantalite, I do believe, and it ran for quite a while without any issues. Okay, so what we have here, past our battery box, well, first on the battery box, there is a energy, I didn't save it up there. There is a energy sensor, and this energy sensor is set with a screwdriver to redstone scales up, and you can do that with just a screwdriver. Right clicking on it does its thing, and that redstone is running into our transformer because it has one of those accept covers, one of these right here on the top of it, and then on the bottom of it is an emit, so the redstone signal will go through the block and come back out on the other side. We don't need the redstone to go both directions, so it works perfectly fine like this. Then we'll get to the actual redstone down below in a minute. Then after our battery box, it goes into 8x cable. Because we have 8 batteries, we need 8x cable, and goes into our electrolyzer, which does have a automatic switch on the front, so as you can see, it'll turn off. And then it also goes down and into 2 transformers. We have an LV-MV here, and then the one with the redstone accept and emit covers on it here. For our, shut up, Greg. For this one, it is controlling these 3 machines. Our laser engraver, which has a red onyx lens in it, so we can throw in this foil, which I brought along with me, and it will make us our circuit wiring. So we don't have to use a wire cutter to make our copper circuit wiring anymore. And this is going to unlock the ability to make T3 circuits, minus something else we have to change. But that'll give us the gold, and it'll also give us the ability to make platinum ones if we want to make tier 5 or tier 6. But currently we don't need tier 5 or tier 6. We only need tier 3. And the gold will give us that ability. So I'm going to let that run. By the way, the automatic switch is on the side of this one because I originally had this turned this direction. But having it turned this direction, I had an issue with the chest, so I chose to do it that way. Now, the welder over here, I need to put a automatic switch on it, and I need to put the CO2 laser on here as well. Angle it the right direction, and now that will be turned off. It'll only turn off one block behind it. So right now this is currently disabled, and the welder we can use for a multiple of things. One of the main ones we can use it for is multiple ingots to plates. Currently, whenever we have to make a double plate, let's see here, transformer, did I save one? No. When we go to make any transformer, doesn't matter what level it is, all the way up to the ZPM UV or the UV PUV1, it requires a double iron plate. Doesn't matter what the level is. And to make this double iron plate, we can, in a rolling machine, use a double ingot and make it into a double plate. Or what we've been doing up to this point is taking two plates and hammering them together on the anvil. So this is going to give us the ability to make double ingots in our welder. Now this will take longer than doing it with the anvil. We also will have to make sure that we actually have ingots to do so with. But since we know we're going to be doing multiple things of transformers, I will throw like a stack of iron ingots in here and make up a whole bunch of double ingots in preparation for when we need them. And we can also use this to make pipes. This is one of the really nice ones. Forgot about this one. We can use it to make machine casings, which doesn't take very long to do. So instead of using durability on our wrench, we can just use a welding machine, throw the long rods, the plates, and it'll put those together. The other thing we can do is rotors. We can make all of our tin, bronze, etc. rotors in here now, and it doesn't take a screw. It only takes a ring and 4 plates. That is why this rotor and every other rotor says 4.25 rather than 4.36, I think is what it should say. If it took a screw. Greg gives it the minimal amount. That way you can't make it in here and then recycle it and get the extra little bit out for the screw. And he doesn't have to have 2 of the same for every rotor. That way one of them shows, hey, you used a screw. The other one, hey, you didn't use a screw. And you get the right amount. People can't, use that to duplicate material. And there is also pipes, which it'll just be easier to look up pipe. So if we look at a gold fluid pipe, this is the current way of making it, or extruding it, which is what we normally do. But we can also weld curved pipes together, and you'll see the cost for a gold fluid pipe normal size is $9,216, where an extruder for that same pipe is 89,472. Now, granted, this is from dust, where this is from a curved plate. So you will have to do the math and figure out if getting it to a curved plate is going to be, the hell is that? It is going to be cheaper than just extruding it. And my guess is yes, but probably not by a whole lot. So it depends on, do you want to go through the process of throwing your dust into a crucible, pouring it as a plate, putting that plate into the rolling mill that curves it, and then putting it into here? Or would you rather just throw it in an extruder, throw the dust in the extruder and have it make the pipe? It depends on which way you're wanting to do it. And then the last thing we have is our canning machine, which is needed for two things. One, we had to have it to make our electric CO2 lasers, because the CO2 laser takes a carbon dioxide laser emitter, which needs CO2 gas and an empty gas laser emitter, which we did in the stream. It was, pretty simple. Just throw it in here and extract the excess gas out and get rid of it. Also, we can use this to now fill up our lighter with butane. So now I don't have to mess with matches anymore or the flint and tinders. I can just use a lighter when I need it. Okay, so the rest of our setup here. From this transformer, we go to our ULV LV transformer, which is for our ULV igniters. We could have used LV igniters. I chose to use ULV, so we needed this transformer. And you can see that we have a lot of these accept emit redstone covers on this as well to get through all of the pipes and our cables. Each one of these have a 2x lead wire running from the transformer into the igniter and a redstone switch on the igniter. Alright, so now we'll get into the really difficult part. And I will tell you, I am not the greatest with redstone. I am not the perfect person to explain this setup to you. I know how it works, but explaining it is not really the best thing the thing I am best at. If you want technical of how this works, I would go and talk to NetMC. I may be able to get him to do a video with us to explain this, or XAR. Either one of them can explain it. This is actually XAR's build. We do have a couple videos out of explaining redstone contraptions, which should help with this, and I'll try to remember to put that up in the corner as well. But basically, this here is a high-low switch, an RS latch, whatever you want to call it. For anybody that has set them up in the past, you will know that you usually have a setup similar to this. 1 second, be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have different backpacks for different things, and I had forgotten that I had taken off the backpack for my redstone stuff because I was done. So basically, this is how you would set up a RS latch. And then you would have a input that would come into one of these sides, say over here. Usually you'll have like a redstone repeater like this, which will go here. That will keep the signal going only into that direction. It'll not feed back. and you'll have to feed that off of your input signal at the right level that you want this to change. Well, we can do this a lot simpler by using two comparators with tags on redstone wire, and use the tag to say the signal coming down from here, we want this comparator turned off when it's at 3. We want this comparator turned off when it's at 14. So as you can see right now, the signal we are getting is less than the 14 because it is turned off. But it is greater than the 3. I think I said that right. This one is not outputting a signal, but it is turned on because this is turning off the comparator. So what it is doing is going into this flip-flop, basically, where the 3 signal goes into the top of this one, the 14 goes into the back of here. Both of those are inverted with a torch and will change the redstone that comes out either back here or up here, depending on which state this cell is set at. This is the part where you really need XAR or NetMC to explain it better. I am horrible at this. But one of those, this one here, is going up to our pistons that shut everything off. So if our signal is above 14, we want the pistons to be extended so that we can have no fire in our boiler, which is what we currently have at this state because we are above 14. If we run that power down in those batteries, you will at some point hear this retract because there will be no signal. It'll basically be like that. And right now, our igniter just hit because we messed up the signal that said, hey, we don't have power. So these retracted igniters went off. You could hear them. Well, the igniters are not supposed to light until you hit the low temperature, or the low signal, which is 3. Because I don't want it to ignite, shut off, ignite, shut off. I want it to ignite, run up as far as it can without being wasteful, shut off, run down to a significant amount, but not completely empty, and then turn back on and fill it all the way back up. It's more efficient that way because we're using boilers. If we were using diesel engines or some other form of power production that did not have a heat up time, none of this would be necessary. It would just be on, off, when we need it. But because we're working with boilers, this is necessary. So after it goes through this cell that turns it on and off, it also runs over to this, which is why we heard the igniter go off. This is a redstone pulsar. So it'll get a redstone signal in here, but it will only put out a redstone pulse. One quick pulse, and then shut back off until it gets the signal gone and then gets a new one. So that's why the redstone, the igniters don't run constantly. This is what would be needed on this setup over here. If I was worried about wasting power, we would put in a pulse that would say when it's possible to run send a pulse to the igniter that will ignite it. But currently, since we're just running it off of the solar panel here, it doesn't really matter. We have full batteries all the time, and it can just ignite while it's running as well. So that is what that setup is doing. And then that redstone is the one that comes up through this wire over here and ignites our igniters. So if you have any questions about this, I would go back and watch the stream. It'll show you how I set it up better. Probably, I hope. And if you really need a better explanation, let me know. I will talk to Net or XAR, and I will try to get one of them to help explain it. Then, the other thing we set up, and this is the major part that I think I need to move, is we finally have our Vitriol of clay set up. So, if I come over here, this is the one part I haven't done, and the reason why I think I need to move it is I need to get this bauxite over to the input of this bath. And there is room for a pipe here, but it's going to have to run like out and somewhere along here. And then we got to figure out how to get it into there without it being a big mess. Or we have to run the pipe down through the floor and over and up underneath it. It's going to be a pain. I need to rework this a little bit. But if we take this purified bauxite, throw it in here, the bath will run, washing that purified bauxite in sulfuric acid. That is then going to output to this pipe the vitriol of clay and hydrogen. We have a filter here that says hydrogen only. If we hit this, see, filter for hydrogen. So hydrogen is the only thing that can go into this pipe. It does say the network has vitriol of clay in it, but that is only because this had vitriol of clay in it. This does not have any. Even though they are different types of pipes, they are still the same network. So you'll see that the hydrogen goes out this direction, and the vitriol of clay dumps down here into our electrolyzer, which has water in the back and a tag set to 1, and it outputs alumina in small piles along with sulfuric acid. And you will notice that it will compound extra alumina up here at times, depending on how full this pipe is at the time. And we also occasionally end up with alumina in here instead of over there where it needs to be. And we're actually going to make something in the next video that will fix this. And it'll take care of one of the quests that we have not done yet. So I will show that in the next one. But currently we don't have a big issue with it, so I'm not too worried about it at the moment. See, there's where it got stuck. That's because this pipe couldn't accept any at the moment, so it went in there, which means there's a chance that we actually ended up with some in here, which we didn't, so it's good. So what we're going to end up doing is running that over here. It will run it through here. By the way, this outputs purified bauxite, which is a little bit better than the or refined bauxite, which is a little bit higher value than the purified, 1.25 to 1.375. And we also get a 50% chance at 2 times 5 tiny refined bauxite out of it, which is then running through this pipe and all the way over here to our shredder, which is shredding it, and that is then being deposited down here in our mass storage for bauxite. You can see we have 127 of them. So now it's time that we need to set up an igniter to turn this on. And as I made this the other day, we also need to start turning this on for the aluminum hydroxide that gets made out of here. And what is also the little bit that's coming in from the sluice, we need to automate both of those to get them turned on. And then the last part of this is the sulfuric acid. There is no sulfuric acid wasted in this setup. It is completely closed looped. So we have a pipe here that is bringing the sulfuric acid back up and into the top, into this bath. Now, there is one thing that I honestly just thought of that I could possibly do to make this a little bit cleaner, and that is take this and basically put another one of these nanopole stainless steel pipes here, which would allow our sulfuric acid to go up and into it, then out and up here. We'd have to use filters that says sulfuric acid can only go out the top and in the bottom, because we don't want hydrogen going down here. And then we would have to do the same thing. We would leave this hydrogen here, put another hydrogen on the other side, and that would give us like a T block, a cross block basically, that would allow both fluids that need to go through this area to go through, but only in the direction that we need them to go. I might try that and see if that'll clean this up just a little bit. I think it should work just fine. But that is how we are now processing our bauxite, which will give us much more alumina. And you can tell that because we have 197 aluminum now, and we have not ran the bauxite at all. This is only what's coming through from this and what we have been getting through as aluminum hydroxide from the sluice, because we're processing a whole lot of bauxite right now. I had this almost completely full, and we're down to that. So as you can see, we've done 6,000 bauxite plus, and we will be running that through this as soon as I can get it done and automated. And that will just about complete our bauxite processing, because as you can see, these turn on as they need to and make our aluminum. The only part of this that is not currently automated is we don't have the creation of cryolite and aluminum fluoride automated, and at some point these will run out, which means that we need to get these over here automated so they can make those fluids when we need to. But the little amount that they run, or that they use per run, we can get a few thousand out of there before we have to worry about that. But this is one of those things that I like to point out to people that are in the AE2 is needed to automate things. I have basically automated processing of bauxite from raw ore to aluminum through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10 machines, and I will not have used AE2 once. There are no controllers needed. There are no channels needed. I don't need to send things into and out of a computer. I do not need to know where any of this is at any given time. And I don't have to have a computer that has to know it. I'm not saying AE2 is not useful. I'm not saying that it is not a good tool to use. My point has always been that AE2 is something that people rely on rather than using something else. And GT6 is perfect for doing things without needing AE2. Now, when I need to make aluminum plates or aluminum screws, AE2 would be absolutely great for that, because I could put something on here that tells me how much aluminum I have currently and can pull from here and take it over and drop it into the appropriate machines, whether it be my extruder or a crucible, form it into the right thing and deliver it to a computer system. But up until the point of dust, I really don't need AE2. And because I'm someone that likes to be at least a part of the process, I don't use AE2 for that part either. I may at some point in this series, but I don't need it. I can do most of my automation without ever touching AE2. So don't think I badmouth AE2. I just badmouth people that rely on AE2, that couldn't automate anything if they didn't use AE2, because all they really know is AE2. I am just as bad. If you go and watch the series that me and Junior have been doing on Sky Factory 4, I complain constantly because I know what I want to do. I know I could do it if I had GregTech 6. But I don't have GregTech 6, so I can't figure out how to do certain things that I want to do. I know it should be possible, and a lot of times it is, and I can work it out. But it's frustrating because I don't have GregTech 6, which is what I rely on for most of my automating. Same thing for people with AE2. So I'm not saying I'm any better than them, because I do it with GT6 and they do it with AE2. Just pointing out the fact that you shouldn't become reliant on any one mod for your ability to do something, because if you at some point find yourself without that mod, it will make it a lot more of a pain in the ass for you. And broaden your horizons. Try something different. I know how to work AE2. I didn't know how to work all of the stuff in GT6. To be honest, I'm still learning some of the stuff in GT6. I learn things new all the time. And I find this way more interesting than AE2, because in AE2 you just set up patterns and you set up the same blocks. In this, you have to do piping, which can look atrocious. Like XAR would be driven absolutely nuts right now, because this pipe goes down, over, back, and I could honestly just run that straight across, back and down. It does not need to come down right there. And that's things that I may fix. But I love the look of this. This looks way better to me than a computer cable. But I'll jump off my soapbox now and let you guys out of here. And as I said, we will look at how we're going to fix this little problem that I want to check it again. I don't know if it has actually happened. It still hasn't happened. And also, I'd like to point out you have not heard these go down yet, we still have 400,000 EU in each one of our batteries, and we have been running this for the whole time I have been running my mouth, and gone through almost a complete stack, in which is running our electrolyzer all the time, along with the fact that we ran the precision laser engraver enough to make all of those wiring parts. That's to help set up the fact, or explain the fact that, or give an example of, I don't need better batteries. These are perfectly fine. Until we deal with the issue of trying to run that MV electrolyzer for a long period of time. Anyways, that is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope my ranting and raving for too long did not drive you too nuts. And I will see you guys next time.